I'd like to take this question from Ben Lewis, please. Ben Lewis.
Is David Cameron standing up enough for British national interests over the BP oil spill?
Well, we've heard today BP appearing before a congressional committee. We've heard what President Obama has said about BP. Amanda Patel, is David Cameron standing up for BP in this debate?
He was rather slow to come to the party, I have to say. I was actually in the States last week and I saw it firsthand, the kind of British bashing that was going on. And it's quite understated. It's been reported, it's been underreported here. And it really upset me, actually, because this is a country, the hypocrisy of America. You know, this is the biggest polluting country in the world. They pollute more of the wide world themselves alone than anyone else. They're responsible for Exxon Valdez. They took 20 years to settle those claims. You look at something like Bhopal, the pesticide, the gas explosion, they're still going through the courts in America to try and get their claims settled. And, you know, the way that, what's his name, Tony Hayward's been vilified. I mean, it's like a joke. It's like you have a Brit there and it's like a Hollywood movie. You have to treat him like he's Christopher Lee or you know, something like this. It's completely absurd. And I just think, you know, you look at that, got so cross watching it and just seeing again and again people getting up saying the British, the British, the British. And you know what I thought? I thought, okay, if the special relationship is so unimportant to you, if you don't recognise that loyalty goes both ways and that you've never had a better friend than Britain, then send our 10,000 troops home from Helmand immediately.
Helena Kennedy.
Well, I mean, this is a big issue, really, actually, more than just about criticism of Britain. I mean, we've got to remember that BP now is a multinational company. The reason it's calling itself BP was because it wanted to divest itself of its Britishness because it wanted to be this great multinational company. And, of course, Amanda's absolutely right. Oil companies, American oil companies, Shell, other oil companies are doing the same thing. And I actually think that there should be a moratorium on deep-sea drilling immediately, because of the great risk that there is attached to it and because we will all pay the cost. And
when you say they're doing the same thing, the Congressional Committee today alleged that on safety there had been 760 safety violations by BP between 2005 and 2006. Well, there were only 2 from Exxon, 1 from Mobil. I think that's right. Yes. In other words, that they were flouting the law.
I think that there was a flouting. It seems to be that there was a flouting going on, and I think BP has to take criticism for that, and it's going to pay the price for it. And so I have no sympathy when there's a flouting of those kind of rules.
And what do you think about President Obama's reaction, saying he wouldn't employ the CEO?
I think he's absolutely right, politically, to be making this a very serious issue.
Is he right to say it was like 9/11?
What he should be saying...
Is he right to say that?
It's not. But what he should be saying to the world is, this is an issue where we have to internationally decide, do we want to become so power-hungry for oil that we will drill anywhere? Do you remember that last election where it was drill, baby, drill they were talking about? Well, I think we have to say this is an environmental issue, and it's a challenge to Chris. What are we going to say, Chris, about the environmental issues that come out of this? And I think that David Cameron didn't defend the issue well enough for my taste, because he should have been driving the environmental issue with America, which, as Amanda says, is one of the worst offenders. But we have to make this an environmental issue for us all.
Okay. The man up there on the right.
I was encouraged when David Cameron last week put up a St George's Cross in 10 Downing Street. I thought at last I might be able to be proud to be English. But the fact that he's back down from America, to me says, you know, when are we going to get a chance, especially my generation, to be proud of England again?
Chris Huhn.
Well, I recognise that there are, particularly in some parts of the tabloid press, there is a strong lobby which would like
You're speaking about the person sitting on your right here.
Which would like us to refight the American War of Independence.
Are you talking about,
I understand that.
Are you talking about the Daily Mail?
That's rather insulting.
But let me, I actually on this issue entirely agree with Helena. I think that we have...
Repeat that again.
I entirely agree with Helena. I think we have to put this in the context of the crisis, an environmental crisis, that Barack Obama is actually facing in the Gulf of Mexico. and to put it in some sort of context of our own experience of similar things. The only thing that's ever happened in this country which is similar at all was the Piper Alpha disaster in 1988, which was a gas field, so not exactly. There was a leak from that of 200 barrels a day of oil. What we're talking about coming out of Deepwater Horizon in the Gulf of Mexico is 40 to 60,000, an estimate 50,000 barrels a day.
But we know it's serious, Chris Huhn. It's not the point. The question is, wait a minute. The question about British national. Hold on.
This is an environmental catastrophe for Louisiana, for Florida, and anybody. If this was happening off the coast of Northern Ireland, if it was happening off the coast of Scotland, we would be in overdrive.
All right.
Believe me.
But nevertheless, was it because the President bullied BP that they suspended paying dividends, which will affect many, many pensioners in this country? Because £1 in every 7, I think that's the right figure, of the FTSE 100 dividends come from BP. Is that because Obama's been bullying them or not? And if it is, why isn't David Cameron sticking up for it?
I think what's actually happened is that some of the rhetoric which you got from members in Congress, and which we'll have again reported in the papers tomorrow from the congressional hearings, some of that rhetoric is clearly over the top. William Hague actually didn't find that it was anti-British and reported back on that, but it is clearly anti-BP and anti-big oil for the understandable reasons that this is an environmental catastrophe which has cost lives and is costing livelihoods.
Was he right to compare it with 9/11 for its impact politically?
Well, I think the key thing here, let me answer the first question you asked, which was about, is this right for BP? And has BP done the right thing, or were they bullied by the President? I think that BP have actually reacted to this in recent days in an admirable manner. I think it is right that they put aside money to make sure that the claims made on them can be paid. That's a big contrast, and Amanda was absolutely right, it's a big contrast with the way that Exxon played the Exxon Valdez disaster, but it actually also brings some sort of finality to the scheme so that you can see as a BP shareholder and as somebody relying on dividend payments from BP, that actually they can manage this.
No, they've said it's not capped, this figure.
Well, it's not.
Unfortunate word to use, but that's what they say.
We don't know yet what the final liability is going to be. But what we do know is that they are paying in on regular stage payments into this in a way that is manageable for the company, and it's not an accident that in the markets today, as a result of this deal, the share price for BP was actually up.